discussed that.
And husband and wife worked at work different times. They can check the check. One thing they'll let them do is do it all the time. But then that pays so much more. Sure. That goes from 67.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the December 7th
It's a little tough.
East Ascension Drainage Meeting.
Got Brian.
We call the roll order
He's
of
out of town.
Mr. Turner, Mr. Melanson, only two absent. Mr. Kent's here. Mr. Lowell, would you please lead us in the invocation followed by the pledge?
Sure. Dear Lord, as we gather here tonight and we approach the holiday season, we ask for a special blessing. We ask you to keep everyone safe in the holidays. We ask you to help us remember our families and our loved ones during this special time of year. That is the spirit of giving and those less fortunate than us. We ask you to also help everyone remember the reason for the season, your Son, Jesus Christ. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign in with Ms. Heather. Move to number 4 to accept the minutes for November the 2nd.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Kluwat, second by Mr. Satterley. Discussion? None, motion passed. Under the chairman's report, I'd like to let everyone know we're gonna move the, January meeting, to the 11th at 6, so it's the only thing I had under my report. Move on to number 6. Mr. Rue, drainage report.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna go through some of the projects real briefly. I don't want to spend too much time on it because next month, beginning of the year, new council, new parish president, we'll give a extensive report about the state of our district, if you will, and what's happening, where we are on everything. So, again, I won't delve into at any length into any one project tonight. We are moving forward. Most everything we have is in some type of permit process. The Law Ridge levy, been going back and forth with the Corps, and the final comments and the final report is due to go to them within another day or two. Hopefully we were gonna get it in last week. We were not able to. So again, it'll be going in sometime this week. And with that, we're hoping to get it expedited, but it will be next year. Not much goes on at the Corps of Engineers in December. And just like most government agencies, a lot of people take off on vacation, holidays, and so I'm not expecting a whole lot to get done. We are waiting for the permit on Bird Island ditches or something, a long-standing issue that we got cited by the Corps for putting riprap on the ditch, among very minor stuff, but this is all it takes to get cited by the Corps. That has been resolved, and we're expecting the actual permit any day now, if, again, we can get something done at the Corps. The Bluff Swamp, Frog Bayou is all in permitting. We're adding to the permit documents with some detailed information modeling from GSA. We also sent the final documents we need to get roughly $750,000 grant money. And so hopefully we'll hear something from the state on that, on the grant money, FEMA. But again, the permit has been sent to the Corps a month or two ago. This is just adding information to that permit so the Corps won't have any excuse to, stall on giving us some kind of reaction back off our permit. Moving forward with the second bid of the pump station, the extra pump, number 7 pump at the Marvinboro Pump Station. That should be bid out with the holidays. We might make it this month, but we're looking at next month, probably the first of the month, bidding it out, actual bids, because of the holidays. We're really moving forward on the Conway Bayou and Panama Canal with the help of HNTB. They're finishing up the final surveys. It should be going to modeling pretty soon. And all of that will be needed to get our permit to go in there and do silt removal. And it also lead into the whole issue of levee and pump protection for the Sorrento, Conway, Panama Basin. The report at HNTV is preparing for that. But initially, we're going to use this information to go for permitting for silt removal and some improvements to those two channels while we're doing the full report on the levee pump system that might be proposed, or the alternates to that system in that area. Again, that's some of the major highlights of some of the things going on. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have on some particular things.
Mr. Lamb?
Bill, I got one thing that it's not actually in my district. It's probably gonna be in Mr. Cagney. Right now, it's Mr. Malone's songs. On Church Point Road, the city is building the subdivision right next to Bayonnaci's Canal. I talked to Darrell, and he said that they're supposed to put a ditch alongside that east side. I know all them people, that's all
Right.
family of mine, and I've got some phone calls. They're concerned, you know, they already get a lot of water right there in that.
They're supposed to capture the water, most of the water in the back and send it to their detention pond. But it has such a high elevation on the lower end, the part that is closest to Church Point. I'm not exactly sure how they're gonna do it, unless they build some kind of berm to keep it from running off.
But I think Darrell said there was a ditch
There was-
on the
there-
plan that
right.
has to be built on the east side on their
Right.
property.
Exactly, there was.
I don't know how
something
large
on
a
the
ditch,
plan.
but it's gotta move a good bit of water.
Well, the way they have the subdivision built up, and the topo on the subdivision is, forcing the drainage to go toward the pond and away from the runoff onto the property. And that's the way it's designed.
But the only problem is where the Lambert family is, which is a lot of kinfolk, that water used to sheet across that property. We can't go there now. It's gotta go through that small culvert that's on the road, and that's all they have now.
Actually, you're partly right. That land had a berm around most of it, and some of the water did sheet flow across under certain situations, but for the main part, mostly the.
He did have a
normal-
road,
Yeah.
have a road that was built up a little bit,
Right,
that
and that was built up, so most of the water from that property actually flowed against the road, against the high level, the high berm that went across there to Church Point Road under the covers, exactly where it's going right now.
We just wanna pay attention, and make sure they put
We
that
are,
ditch
we finally
on
got
that
them
east
to
side.
put up their silk fence and some other improvements.
Okay,
They actually have the full permit to build now from the city, so that's why they're moving a little bit further along with it.
okay. Appreciate it, Bill.
Hold on, Ms. Terry. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, a quick question on the same place, Bill. They've got enough room between the canal and the pond there? Okay.
Yeah, we have we went through all of that when they went through the design, and we're gonna do a final check of everything
Good deal.
before
Thanks, sir. That's it.
before they get to final approval or occupancy of the subdivision.
Ms. Terry.
I can ask Bill after the meeting, it's not critical now.
Mr. Johnson. Mr. Lowell.
Nope.
Mr. Shake Snyder.
Anything latest on the weir?
Oh, yes, actually, I got the full report from Volkert on their recommendations and things. I also am investigating on my own contractors that actually did that work, and to get some input from them. I should have information back, hopefully this week, possibly this week. If it might go into next week, but right now, possibly this week, from people that really knows that business, to give me some alternates on how it can be delivered, some information on the different ways of building it. And we're looking at this real simplistic method of just building it up roughly 3 feet and not doing anything to the boatway. That's a separate issue. We're looking at the placement of the rocks, the buying, the transporting and placement of the rocks itself. And also filling in, separate is looking at the filling in the scour, you know, the amount of quantity that's needed for that. And again, I just basic information to get, so I know that, you know, what's the, I guess, the professionals are saying
Can you get
about
us
it.
that report so we can look it over?
Yes, sir, I will.
Thanks. Everything else, just keep going, keep moving on Panama Conway.
And the other thing about our permits, again, we always wait for permits. We just waiting for the contract from the Corps for that 214, which we'll have our own person over there working on our permits, first of the year, I hope. And that should expedite a lot of our projects after the first.
Mr. Cluey? Mr. Sadler?
I'm fine, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Turner?
Yes, Bill, do you have any status on the berm around the Ashland subdivision?
Yes, sir, we're actually ready to go. We're getting one more little bit of information from the Corps about how we're gonna place the culvert in that main discharge area, ditch. Basically because we are putting a sluice gate on it or some type of valve that we have to get permission from the Corps, but that's minor. The main holdup is the owner or owners, or should I say, the present owner and future owner of the property. I met with the man that is going to buy it, says he's going to buy it by the end of this year or first in January at the latest. And he said he has no problem allowing the berm to go there. He said he don't want to give his final permission to do it until he actually has ownership of the property. What we're probably going to do is purchase the property from him at the cost he's paying to purchase it from the present owner. So he's not gonna make any money on it, but he'll basically just transfer it over to us at the same cost. And, but the way it looks, it will be the first of the year.
Mr. President, you had anything?
I'm gonna be a little bit more positive about that permit at Laurel Ridge. I think we can get to the point where we can get everything done and move on to the mitigation phase, I think, before the first of the year. So I think that once you get that, I think we're gonna be on a positive note on that. And I would not take too much longer on this berm over at in Harryville, because we've been working on that for probably 5 or 6 months at the most, maybe more than that. So if it's not anything done by the first couple of months, I'd go ahead and expropriate that property, because you need to do that to protect those people there. So.
Go ahead, Mr. Chase.
Bill, one more thing, that bulkhead on the Bullock property.
We ordered our material, or the material the contractor gave us, the list of the material. We ordered it, and it's coming in right now for that bulkhead. We have some of the material already. Now, the contractor says he's probably gonna try to get started sometime this month, if not in January, on that bulkhead.
It is moving forward.
With one caveat. I sent Mr. LeQuette a hold harmless agreement stating that, it's a standard procedure, stating that because of the fact that the pile driving gonna be so close to the house, that he has to hold us harmless of any damage to the house caused by the vibrations of the pile driving. And basically, and also take over responsibility of maintenance of the bulkhead after it's completed. I have not received the return document or any correspondence back from Mr. LeQuette. Okay. We will not and cannot sign a contract with the contractor and proceed unless we get that, because it just puts the parish in jeopardy if, and you know, I'll be honest with you, it probably going to be some damage to the house. You know, you're only 20 feet away, you're pile driving, so we can't take the chance.
Okay.
Everyone good? Before we move on to number 7, I need to back up. We're gonna pass on number 9. I'd like to put this on the January agenda. We have some public input, and the engineers. We want to try to get everyone together before we bring this to the
We have no
council.
objection to that.
Also, I want to recognize Bill and John out there. We appreciate y'all being with us tonight. We're going to number 7, authorization of new annual contracts. Bill?
Yes, we're asking for authorization to renew the annual contract for professional services between East Ascension Drainage District and Elos Environmental for wetland permitting. That's for 2016.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Lambert, second by Ms. Gasso. Any discussion or any objection? Not, Motion passed.
Parish President.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
I was gonna ask to hold off on that maybe and look at these. I don't have a copy of that contract.
But it's a renewal.
It's a renewal.
It's just a renewal from,
'Cause when we first contracted with them, it was supposed to be for one job, and now we
no,
contracting.
sir. We went for qualifications for environmental,
Now you got
permitting.
7 and 8 coming up.
Yeah,
Same-
right, and
same thing.
that's the original two that we went through qualification process for. They were the prime two, and we ended up going with both of them because of the amount of permitting that we needed. But they are only put on a one-year basis, like is our standard contract.
What's the limit of the contract?
150,000. Per,
Have we been satisfied with, from an administrative standpoint, have we been satisfied with production?
I have, sir, because without them, we would be not anywhere close to a lot of these projects. They took over the Eden Barn and did that. They took over the roadway to, between St. Landry and Ashland Road. They did the berm at Astroland. They did the Bluff Swamp project, the Frog Bayou. They did the Bird Island Ditch. All of these permits are coming due, mainly because of the actions of these environmental professionals that's taking it all the way to the core for us.
Just curious, Bill, on Edenborn, what do they do for that?
Well,
What are we?
I don't know if they did
required to
Eden
do?
Barn, with Volkert had that. I think Volkert had that. They did the roadway, just recently did the roadway from Ashland to St. Landry. And they're involved right now, ELO's involved with the Cluot Ditch, the crossing of the pipeline and the drainage, redirection of that ditch from Airline to Bayou Francois. Plus a lot of little small things. They did some road work, some environmental work for the road work. So I keep them busy. And again, without them, I mean, we'd be dead in the water, to be honest with you. We don't have personnel to put these permits together.
Appreciate that info. Bill, Mr. Dawson, you want to add anything to that, or what y'all been dealing with?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there has been, some additional work that's been done by some of these groups. But I think the question is just the definite amount and some of the concerns about, the details of the work as we move forward with some of the contracts. I know that ELOS did do something from the St. Landry to Ashland Road, that connector that we're doing to try to get more traffic off of 30. But there's still some questions about what we need to do to kind of detail, that amount of work to make sure that we're getting everything that we need for the 150,000. I think that it's probably there, but we just need to make sure that,
Shouldn't the commissioners be getting a report out that they're doing such and such on this for X amount of money on each different project they do?
Well, we could send that to you. We normally don't.
Well, I mean, that would be.
For, if you want it, it's detailed. Everything is in the task order form. I think ELO's had something like 10 or 11 tasks so far. Natural Resource had 4 or 5.
Well, it just makes it a
Yeah.
lot easier to vote on some of this if you kind of know where the money
Right.
goes. That's,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say $150,000, we have no idea. We have to vote to approve it, and we have no idea where it's going to.
It's just budgeted for that much, and not saying that they're gonna spend it.
Yeah, it will.
Mr. Kluan?
Yeah, just to clear that up, Bill, Tommy, this is a task order type contract. That
Yeah.
we got a
Everything-
ceiling on it. That
right.
don't mean they're gonna do
No.
$10 worth of work next year.
Everything
You got the
task,
availability for them to do 150.
what we do with the task, if we have something for them to do, we give them the scope of the task. They go look at it, they come meet with me, then they send in a proposal, and we negotiate the proposal per task. And then we issue a notice to proceed if we feel that it's fair. So each one is actually a separate proposal, and it's not all lumped together. So, but we can send that information to you, each proposal, with the total amount per each company, with no problem at all.
Mr. Dawson?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct what Bill was saying, that there are a lot of tasks that were done, and it's just kind of keeping a log, and so that everybody knows what they are. But we've also, the administration has decided to try to move away from a lot of task-oriented type orders like that, because sometimes just keeping track of all of the details of the work, that we're trying to move around away from that and have specific, contracts to do specific things, so they're ended at a specific time and for a specific task. So I know that's something that the president has talked about and instructed me to try to move away from these kind of task-oriented type contracts to more, designated and specific type contracting orders. But again, I think that with all the listing of the tasks that was currently performed on this one, we can get that information to you, and I agree, they did a lot of work.
Now, I just want to make sure everybody understand the way I do a task order contract. Again, going back to what I just said, we give them a job, we give them a task, we negotiate that task as is a separate contract, and we issue a notice to proceed, and in that notice to proceed, it's a date to start and a date to complete it. It's on a notice to proceed, every one of them is written like that, it's standard form, and they cannot go over that or they're penalized.
And there's a value for that.
There's a value for that, that's it. So,
Fantastic.
that's the way we format it.
I mean, if this is the direction y'all want to move into the future, is there an out on this contract? I mean, we could basically just not issue any more task orders and do an individual contract. We
yeah.
want to change the path of what we're doing into the future, right?
But you don't have to issue.
It's a year-to-year contract.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but I
Yeah,
mean, at the end of the day, if we go with this now, and the administration changes the path of which direction they want to go into the future as far as not issuing task orders, but do as individual contracts, we can always just not issue any more task orders and just do a contract, correct?
Now, in
So, I mean,
this
it's
particular
not anything
case,
if we just
No.
go ahead with I mean, we already voted on it to do it, so if we don't change anything with that, it's not going to disrupt anything in the
No.
future, right?
but in this particular case, this type of work, it'd be really foolish to enter into a contract every time. 'Cause I might call them 4 times this week. So you have 4 contracts? You negotiate 4 contracts? I mean, this type
That's
of
up to the
situation.
administration, what the administration wants to do. I mean,
No,
if that's how
that's
they want
right.
to handle their business, that's fine, but I mean, that, again, I'm not
You
arguing
can't-
with you.
you
I'm
can't
just basically
function
want to make
like
sure that
I
what we're
can't
doing is
function
correct.
like that. You either, stay with the system that we have, or you hire somebody in-house to do all your permitting. That's the only 2 alternatives that you got. The only 2.
Mr. Terry?
Well, this sounds like something that needs to be worked out in the parish president's office with the drainage director. Certainly, I think that we've made a move here, we've voted. Probably we need to have administration and the drainage department determine how they want to handle that. And we can, as I think Benny's absolutely right, we can look at this again in the near future if it's necessary. I do, however, understand your point that it's so much easier if you have a standing contract and you don't have to write a contract every time you assign a task. So I would caution administration that that is complicated and might undermine the effort of the director of the drainage department to get work done in a timely fashion. Other than that, that's my only comment.
Anyone else? Ms. Heather, we have Mr. Turner. You have him, thank you. Okay, on that, we have a motion and a second. Enough discussion, it passed. We'll move on to number 8, another authorization for renewal annual contract. Mr. Rue?
That's the same thing, but for another company, authorization to renew annual contract between East Ascension Drainage and Natural Resource Professional for wetland permitting.
Moved by Mr. Shake Snyder,
Second.
second by Ms. Castle. Discussion,
What's the
Mr.
value of this contract, Mr. Rue?
Each of them is budgeted at $150,000, but I'll give you for instance, it's whoever does the best job and who's available. Right now, ELOS has been performing a little bit better, in my opinion, and they've been given a little bit more task. Is whoever gets it and works on it and get it back to us has a better chance of getting the contract. So it's not equal. It's based on availability and performance.
Thank you, sir.
Any opposition to the motion? Motion passed. We'll go to number 10, executive session.
Motion to move in the
Moved by
executive
Mr.
session.
Kluwat,
Second.
second by Mr. Shake Snyder. Roll call, Ms. Heather.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Sadler,
Yes.
Mr. Kluwat,
Yes.
Mr. Shake Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Lower,
Yes.
Mr. Cazzo?
Yes.
Mr. Todd Lambert?
Yes.
Benny Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Make a motion to reconvene, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Cluett.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the Drainage Board attorney to offer settlement with the litigation.
Moved by Mr. Johnson,
Second by Mr.
Second.
second by Mr. Lambert. Discussion? Not, motion passed. Mr. Cluett.
Before we move on to agenda item number 11, I would like to recognize some of the board members we have that are going out after this meeting. And Mr. Malonson, Mr. Chris Lohr, and Mr. Kent Shakesnyder.
Thank you.
And I think as a small token of our consideration for you guys, all the hard work and trenches y'all been in for a long time with us, is I'd like to offer that you take your nameplate home with you.
Oh, okay.
I'll autograph it.
I'll
if
take
you
it.
want.
Thanks.
And I,
Small token of our appreciation.
you know, I was chair for a while, and Kent and Dempsey took it over, but look, we appreciate it. A lot of hard battles fought, down in the ditches, back behind the ditches, behind people's house, and throwing sandbags and everything else. We appreciate y'all help.
Thank you. Good job. Thank y'all much.
Thanks.
Anything else? Not, Mr. Lambert.
Motion to adjourn, Mr.
Moved by
Chairman.
Mr. Lambert to adjourn. Second by Mr. Lohr. We adjourn.